What's going on, guys? Welcome to an interview edition of Crypto News. My name is Nick Hellman.
I'm Todd Butterfield.
And I'm Matt Beasley.
Today we got James Lovejoy. He's the lead developer of Vertcoin and part of the MIT Digital Currency Initiative. How you doing today, James?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
Perfect.
Thank
Before
you.
we dig into Vertcoin, I kind of wanted to ask you a little bit of like a macro question. I know you're obviously running pretty deep in cryptos and into the development circles. With SEC looking at coins as if they're securities or commodities, how do you think that's going to really affect the crypto as an ecosystem? And yet, do you think regulation overall is good or bad for this crypto economy?
Well, I think, some of these so-called cryptocurrencies actually really are securities. And therefore, by the definition of the law, they do come under the SEC's jurisdiction. I mean, if you're running a coin that is either completely centralized or is masquerading as some kind of share in a company or representing some other kind of underlying asset, then ultimately, you are a security, so you should come under that definition. As for whether, real cryptocurrencies, i.e. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Vertcoin, and so on, that have their own mining network and were fairly distributed, whether or not those are commodities, I think that's debatable. I mean, I think they more represent currencies, though you could argue they're analogous to gold. So I think that's a debate to be had. But definitely in terms of securities, I think regulation is important because there are some projects that definitely are mis-selling themselves to the public, and, we don't want those people to lose all their money because they've been scammed.
Perfect. I enjoy the insight there. I'm sure Matt and Todd kind of feel the same way. We get that community questions a lot asking about that, so we wanted to kind of hear what you had to say. So I guess to start off, if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background with MIT, and maybe why you've chosen to spend so much development time over on Vertcoin versus all the other options in this crypto ecosystem.
Yeah, so I first started mining Bitcoin, actually, back in late 2013. And I did that just on my home computer with my GPU, because this was before ASICs had really started to take over. But by sort of early February of the next year, 2014, it was starting to become apparent that ASICs were just becoming the dominant mining power on Bitcoin. And that meant that an individual like myself, who couldn't get my hands on that kind of hardware because the sale of it was restricted severely, it meant that I just couldn't mine anymore. So I moved over to Litecoin, which originally started as a way of moving away from these ASICs so that people could continue to mine fairly and in a widely distributed way. Unfortunately, ASICs were also developed for Litecoin, and they never changed their algorithm to deal with that problem. So I moved to Vertcoin, which I've been mining ever since. My first interaction with the community, I guess, is I developed a multi-pool called Greenpool back in April 2014, which was a multi-pool which allowed you to mine different coins of different algorithms, and it profit selected them to optimize and then paid you out in Vertcoins. So that was an interesting project. And by sort of early 2015, I had become the lead developer of Vertcoin as the other developers moved on to other things. So Vertcoin was never pre-mined, there was no ICO, there was no airdrop. In the same way as Bitcoin and Litecoin, it's been mined fairly since the start. And the developers have committed to ensuring that Vertcoin stays without ASICs for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So if ASICs are ever created for Vertcoin, we will propose a hard fork that we hope the community will accept, which will remove them from the network. And we've done this twice previously in the past. So we've set a pretty decent precedent that we think will prevent ASIC manufacturers for even making an attempt in the future.
Yeah, even trying to make something for Vertcoin.
I mean, it would make their hardware an expensive paperweight overnight.
Yeah.
And we've done it before, so I think we can confidently do it again.
Perfect. I guess that was kind of leading to another question. You were talking about mining. We'll get back to that here in a little bit. I kind of just wanted you, for people who don't know what Vertcoin is, I don't think I've done a full fundamental review of Vertcoin over on our channel. I was just wondering if you could maybe give like a 30-foot vision or a 30-foot overview of what Vertcoin is to you. Like, what does it mean? What is your vision for it? How do you think it'll be utilized?
I guess for me, in a similar way to the way the Bitcoin Cash people say they're the real vision of Satoshi's Bitcoin, which I think is ultimately dubious given that it's majority mined by one company.
Yeah, it's a pretty centralized
annoying
currency
things
currently
to the Bitcoin network. I think Vertcoin is trying to be, really a new financial system. I don't see the point in having, a replacement financial system where in one you have a small group of people who are making all the money, and then you move to another one where a small group of people are making all the money. In the future, there's going to be no block reward, and there's just going to be transaction fees. And at that point, you're telling me, okay, we're just going to have it so that like Jihan Wu and people who are able to produce and mine massive farms with these ASICs, which recent research came out and said only 9 Bitcoin miners constitute the vast majority of the hash rate. They'll be making all the money. So I'm doing this because I want to make the financial system more fair. I think we can make ultimately most functions of the current financial system marginal cost industries, which will add huge efficiency to the economy. And I don't think we want to move to more rent extraction. So Vertcoin tries to avoid that by allowing everyone to take part in the network and reap the benefits of these fees in order to be far more redistributive.
Interesting. That's a cool way to look at it. Also, I believe we actually did a interview with Digibyte recently too, and I think you guys are a fork of Litecoin in January of 2014, I believe, as well as them. So a lot of people kind of was one of the negatives when I was looking into this. A lot of people are like, oh, it's just another Litecoin fork. Can you tell me maybe a little history of why the fork occurred, or what you think Vertcoin does to separate itself from Litecoin and some of these other currency competitors here in the space?
Well, one of Litecoin's original purposes was to make mining easier. They deliberately used a harder hash function than Bitcoin in order to allow GPU mining to continue. And the thinking was making the algorithm more memory hard would delay or prevent ASICs from being created. Vertcoin's entire purpose was to be created to prevent ASICs because Litecoin didn't itself fork when ASICs were created for it. And we're the only coin, I think, to date that has actually, forked, I guess, twice now to prevent ASICs from being mined onto our network. So I guess that would be the main difference.
It leads me to my next question I was going to ask you, and kind of your decentralization model. I have given praise to your GUI of your one-click miner before over on Twitter. I do some at-home GPU mining, and mining Vertcoin is probably one of the easiest. I think at the time I got retweeted by you guys because I was like, oh, it was so easy my grandma can do it. Your one-click miner, you literally drop in your wallet address and you pick which pool you want to do based on fees, based on the ping, whatever, and you hit run and you're done. So I have given you praise on that. Can you explain how your proof-of-work decentralization works with Vertcoin for everybody watching?
Well, I suppose there are 2 main components to it. The first would be the developer commitment to hard forking. So there is a social contract between the community and the developers, which means that if ASICs are ever created, we will change the algorithm, or at least, well, we don't have control. Ultimately, the miners have to update. So we will propose an update to the community which changes the algorithm in some way to defeat the ASIC. And as a result of everyone updating, that ASIC will hence be defeated. The second component would be the hash function itself, which we designed from using other well-known hash functions. And it's designed to be, I guess, difficult to implement on an ASIC. So if we were to change algorithms, we would use the most recent research to come up with a new algorithm design, which would be more appropriate for defeating ASICs into the future. So we have ideas about that we'll be working on into the future if that ever becomes a reality.
I guess you don't really have to worry about it until there's another attempt. But like you said, a lot of these ASIC companies might not even waste the time knowing that that's probably going to occur, so that it kind of be wasting their own funding.
So I don't think it's a realistic possibility for the next couple of years at least. But after that, we may have to start looking into additional measures if ASIC design becomes easier or there are new developments in hardware or something. But since we made Lyra 2RE, which is our algorithm, which is now used by a bunch of other coins actually, like Mona, and I think there are some of the multi-algorithm coins use it as well. Since then, new developments have come out in ASIC resistant design, which we would probably incorporate. But there's no point in hard forking and disrupting everything if there's no realistic threat.
Cool. I know you guys have been trying to utilize the Lightning Network and been working on a few projects, including a Lightbox and Light Wallet. I don't know too much about that, and I know a lot of people in our community don't know too much because I know they're kind of new platforms for you guys. So if maybe you can kind of overview those for us, how you think they could be utilized with mainstream adoption, and if any of those kind of get you excited here for the future of Vertcoin.
Yeah, so I'm a student here at MIT, and as part of that, I work as an undergraduate researcher at the MIT Digital Currency Initiative. And there, we work on a project called Lit, which is our Lightning Network implementation. And the purpose of it essentially is to provide an easy way to do scaling on the blockchain. Eventually, assuming Vertcoin and Bitcoin become highly utilized, it's going to be really hard to get transactions into the chain at a low price. So what the Lightning Network allows you to do is perform transactions in a trustless way, but off-chain. So you don't have to commit to the blockchain all the time. So our implementation is designed to be highly multi-coin. So we have it working on Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Vertcoin at the moment. And Litbox is essentially a software stack for running your own hardware device in your home, analogous to a router, which contains all of your coins, contains your Lightning Network nodes, your full nodes, and you connect to that with your phone, your desktop, your laptop to actually receive your coins. So you have the same wallet on all your devices, and from there you're able to do the Lightning Network. The reason why we have this is twofold. Firstly, you have to be online all the time for Lightning Network to be truly trustless. And the second reason is we don't want people to be essentially having this service provided by a third party, so they're paying them to provide this always online device. Mm-hmm. So instead, we are trying to make it as easy as possible as part of our decentralization ethos to allow people to really be their own bank. So by having this device, they'll be able to be on the Lightning Network, be fully in control of their own coins, and still pay wherever they need to using all of their devices.
So the Litbox is kind of a separate MIT project that currently the wallets would support Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Vertcoin only? Is that kind of what I'm getting from you?
Well, Lit, which is the Lightning Network application, is an MIT project, and Litbox at the moment is a Vertcoin project.
Okay. And how would that benefit the Vertcoin ecosystem? Do you need Vertcoin to interact with that box? Is it only going to be for Vertcoin, or?
Well, you don't need Vertcoin, but ultimately we're the ones developing it, so.
Okay.
Vertcoin will always be part of the project and will ultimately benefit. Ultimately, Vertcoin as well, because it's more decentralized. It means we don't have so much issues with fees and mempool spamming as Bitcoin does. And because we have ultimately 4 times as much capacity as Bitcoin, it's always going to be a cheaper on-ramping option to Bitcoin. In Lightning Network, you always need to at least fund and close a channel over its lifetime, which is 2 on-chain transactions. Between those 2 on-chain transactions, you can transact as many times as you like for no extra fee. But at least those 2 on-chain transactions, Vertcoin will ultimately, I think, be cheaper for moving into the future.
That kind of leads me right to one of my last questions. How does Vertcoin compare to competitors when it comes to fees, transaction times, and projected scalability issues if mass adoption were to occur? Because I know in my opinion, with a lot of these currencies, the value proposition or the investment proposition is directly related to the utility of the token as far as how many people are actually using it, how many merchants are using it, and how many payment solutions are integrated with that individual currency. So I was wondering, how does Vertcoin maybe technically compare with what are your block times, and then how maybe are you guys taking steps in your marketing and your PR to find some new payment solutions for Vertcoin here in the future?
So I guess in terms of fees, we have the lowest fees that they can essentially be. For most transactions, they're imperceptible. The reason for that is our network is not fully utilized at the moment, so the only fee you're paying is the minimum fee, which is implemented to prevent spam attacks on the network. In terms of transaction times, our block time is a quarter of Bitcoin, so the same as Litecoin at 2.5 minutes. So if you wait 6 confirmations, that's obviously less, like 15 minutes, which is a lot less than Bitcoin.
Do you think that transaction time in the future would cause issues for people trying to interact with storefronts, or are you guys working on anything to reduce those transaction times? Or is there...
Well, so this is the whole reason behind Litbox. I mean, no one's really been thinking so far, I think, about how Lightning's going to work on mobile. I mean, people have produced mobile apps, but the big problem with it is it requires you to be online all the time. So realistically, you can't have a channel on your phone because, you know, if your phone's battery goes flat or, you know, you go out of cell range or something, someone can steal funds from your channel, and you don't want that. So this is the whole point of the Litbox that we've created, and it will be paired with, you know, a whole set of apps for desktop and mobile and what have you to function with it, because you need to be online all the time so that you can catch a malicious transaction in a 48-hour period. So by having that Litbox, you'll be able to do instantaneous mobile transactions at any kind of point of sale. So we'll be working on a point of sale device eventually, so that you essentially have a suite of lit devices which allow you to both transact, hold your coins, and ultimately maybe mine your coins as well in the future.
Oh, that was maybe a little hint there, guys. He said maybe mine the coin in the future. Well, that's really cool because I haven't really heard, you know, that's a different perspective to look at it, where it kind of deems the block time really essentially doesn't really matter. If you have the Litbox, it can be instantaneous and almost free as long as you're connected to that device. So that's interesting. So I guess the last question I had for you before I let you go, I don't want to eat up any more of your time. I'm sure you have some stuff to work on. And in your eyes, what will you consider a successful 2018 for Vertcoin? Is there a project that you want to have finished, or is there certain exchanges that you want to get on? I know right now you guys are really only on Bittrex as far as main exchanges, so that kind of has reduced your trading volume a little bit. Is there something that you're really striving to do?
Well, I suppose there are lots of things we're working on now. You can go on our Medium blog and see our roadmap for 2018, which has a lot of points on it. But mostly I'd say we'd like to get the AMD miner out. So we're developing from scratch a new miner, so not based on any existing miner software, which is designed to mine our algorithm on AMD, because previously NVIDIA has been much faster than AMD devices, and we'd like to even it out so other people can mine. So I'd definitely like to get that out very soon. The next thing would be the Litbox and the new set of Lit wallets. I'd like to get those out so people can start using the Lightning Network. And maybe if we're lucky, we'll have some kind of prototype point-of-sale device by the end of the year as well.
Hey, James, if you don't mind, this is Matt Beasley here. Just got a quick question for you real quick. When you talk about the Litbox, this would obviously be a device that's in your house at all times, powered on, connected to the internet. But if I was out away from my house, would there be you're saying there would be like a mobile application that'd be able to interface with it even when I'm away from the house at that point?
Yeah, exactly. So the Litbox stays in your house, and there's like a companion mobile app that you run that allows you to remote control your Litbox. So it appears as if the wallet is in your phone, just the same as it does on your desktop and your laptop, and you can use that out and about to pay for things in shops, wherever you go.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's interesting. That's about all the questions I had for you. Thanks for everybody for watching. Maybe we'll ask a few more questions you here if you stay on here for a second. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe if I missed any questions, or if you have a question for James over here, make sure to leave a comment in the comment section below, and maybe he'll either see that or I can pass it on to him. And stay tuned for more interviews, and come check us out live, guys. And that's about it. You got anything, Matt?
No, that's about it for me.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate you coming on here, James.
Well, thank you for having me.
No doubt.
Thank you.